So I've learned something and I want to share it with you all. So that's how it starts. Yes, ma'am. First slide, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'll be taking two lessons actually. One is the 11th one, learning, that is classical conditioning. The other one is operant conditioning. Both are part of learning. Okay, so we all know everybody learns every day to day life. One or the other thing we learn actually. So, for example, the learning will give you some sort of a behavior in you. So that is how the whatever we see. For example, learning a flute. Okay, so learning a flute, something like that. Even Sachin says every day is new for him, so he learns new things on every day. So that's how it is learned actually. So one minute, sorry. So that's how the learning goes. So what, as per the psychologist, what they mean is learning is enduring change in behavior or knowledge as a result of an individual's experience. Whatever we experience, day to day life, whatever we experience, that gives us some behavior within ourselves. Okay, so that is how the learning occurs in everybody's life. Okay, so as a result of experience, you acquire new behavior. Whatever, for example, you see one thing and you acquire one behavior. For example, anything you can take. Basic, whatever you do actually, even if for example, if you take a cricket, so many guys are learning from Sachin's stroke actually. Whatever he bats, like him, they want to play. Or an actor who, for example, Rajinikanth, if he smokes, that they learn from him actually. Whether it is right or wrong, that doesn't matter, but he shows something and they see that is a stylish thing, and they see ஆச்சரியப்பட்டு பார்க்குறாங்க. So they admire him and they see him, and likewise they pretend likewise. Say like Rajinikanth, they want to smoke. Okay, so that is how the learning occurs. So that is how the behavior also comes into each and everyone's individuals. So that is how the learning starts. So very basic form of learning called conditioning is the process of learning association between environmental events and behavioral responses. So that is how the psychologists have taken it. So basic, whatever happens across, I mean, in the environment, whatever occurs, due to that, what learning they get. So that is how this both the conditioning, classical conditioning and operant conditioning, it goes. So how it varies, let us see. Next, man. So first we'll go with the first lesson is learning, that is classical conditioning. Actually, Russian physiologist. He was not a psychologist. Actually, he was a physiologist. He was doing an experiment on digestion. Okay, so he was not actually a physiologist. I mean, psychologist. He was a physiologist. So he was doing a யாருக்கும் in case புரியலன்னா தமிழ்ல கேளுங்க. Okay, so I'll explain in Tamil also. So most of the participants are English actually, so I'm doing it in English. So hope everybody understands it. Okay, so யாருக்கும் புரியலன்னா கேளுங்க. Because it's a very basic, these two lessons compared to last class, which is out of our thing. But this is a very basic kind of a lesson, both 11th and 12th. So it should be easy for you. So whatever possible, I'll try to make you understand. So first thing is classical conditioning. Actually, a Russian physiologist, he did a experiment on digestion. Okay, on that digestion thing, he found out a peculiar thing happening. Okay, so that peculiar thing um, uh, found out to be a bigger invention, actually speaking. Okay, so this Russian scientist name is Ivan Pavlov. He was the one who did an experiment with dog actually. So with the dog, what he did is he gave a food. With that, the dog was salivating. Okay, you understand salivating, right? So the he brought the food and the dog was salivating. So he was regularly giving food, and once he could see that without seeing the food, just seeing him, that is just looking at Pavlo, the dog got salivating. Okay. So he found that without seeing the food, just looking at him itself, the dog start salivating. So actually, in this lesson, you should understand two things. One is stimuli and response. Okay, this is the main point you should understand: stimuli and response. Stimuli is the salivating dog. Yeah, I mean, stimuli is the food actually. Food, whatever food is the normal food, that is stimuli, and salivating, that is the response. Okay, because of the food, the dog is salivating. Okay, so food is the stimuli, and the salivating is the response. தமிழ்ல சொல்லணும்னா அந்த சாப்பாடு வந்து ஸ்டிமுலைன்னு சொல்றோம். அந்த அது நாயில் வாயில எச்சில் ஊறுறத வந்து நம்ம வந்து ரெஸ்பான்ஸ்ன்னு சொல்றோம். ஸோ அதுக்கு வந்து அது ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் கொடுக்குது. அந்த ஸ்டிமுலைக்கு அது ரெஸ்பான்ஸ் கொடுக்குது. ஸோ தட் இஸ் த இனிஷியல் திங். ஓகே, ஸோ அது when he started giving food, so the dog started stimulating, I mean started responding to Pavlov itself. Pavlov பார்த்துட்டே அது வந்து எச்சில் ஊற ஆரம்பிச்சிருது நாய்க்கு. ஸோ தட் இஸ் ஹவ் த ஸ்டார்டிங். ஸோ இது என்னன்னா, நெக்ஸ்ட் மேம், நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட். So what we understand from this is actually வந்து ஃபுட் வந்து நேச்சுரல் ஸ்டிமுலஸ். ஃபுட்டு தான் நேச்சுரல் ஸ்டிமுலஸ். நேச்சுரல் வேற, நியூட்ரல் வேற. ஸோ தேர் ஷுட் பி, யூ ஷுட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த டிஃபரன்ஸ். ஃபுட்டு வந்து நேச்சுரல் ஸ்டிமுலஸ், வேறஸ் பாவ்லோ வந்து நியூட்ரல் ஸ்டிமுலஸ். அவரை பார்த்து அவருக்கு அதுக்கு எச்சல் ஊறணும்னு அவசியமே கிடையாது. பட் அவர் he is giving that food. Because of that, dog experiencing that Pavlo is a stimuli. So Pavlo பார்த்தே பண்றதுனால he is a neutral stimulus. Okay, so you should understand the difference. So first is neutral stimulus, that is sight of Pavlo, and the food which is actually natural stimulus. அது எல்லாருக்குமே ஆகும். So everybody gets that response of salivating, seeing the food. So food in the mouth is the natural stimulus. So the reflexive response, what does that mean? These are the words that you can use it. So when they ask for a classical conditioning, this experiment, you can go ahead with that. So these are the words, you can use it regularly on your exams. So that will give you, yield you marks. So these are the words the examiners expects it in the as far as the classical conditioning is concerned. So so first is neutral stimulus, then is natural stimulus. We can say as unlearned natural stimulus. That is either way, நீங்க ஃபுட்டை பார்த்தோன்னே அது வந்து ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்கா இட் வில் ஸ்டார்ட் salivating. Okay, so that is unlearned natural stimulus. Food is an unlearned natural stimulus. Okay, then reflexive response, that is dog salivating is the response that is given by the dog, that is reflexive response. So now what happens is two stimuli. First is food and Pavlo. Both are paired now. Okay, so that is the both are paired now. Now what happens is ரெண்டும் பேர் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் நார்மலா பாவ்லோவே வந்து it becomes a neutral stimulus. That becomes a stimulus that we call as a neutral stimulus. Yes, ma'am. So this is what the thing is. So what we have seen is, so dog's mouthல அந்த food பார்த்ததுனால, I mean it could feel that food. So அதனால it gets a stimulus, that is unconditional stimulus. This is automatic. So we should have a understanding that condition and unconditioned. Condition is after the experiment. Okay, unconditioned is normal actually. Okay, that is what we have to understand. Unconditioned stimulus is normally dogs salivating, I mean, salivating because of the food. So the food is unconditioned stimulus. So that is what they are giving here. So then it is unconditioned response. Unconditioned response is nothing but a dog's salvation. So first thing is they are abbreviating. They might ask you like this: UCS. What is UCS? UCR. So UCS is unconditioned stimulus. That is for food which is given dog's mouth. So that is the unconditioned stimulus, and unconditioned response is dog's salivation. So that is unconditioned response. So now we are getting into this controlled stimulus. That is, what happens is, he understood that a dog is salivating with his seeing himself. So what he has done is he wants to control it. Okay, so he wants to check whether I can control this stimuli. So what he does is he takes a bell. Okay, so he takes a bell, he uses a bell. So first he starts, he gives a bell, then he gives a food. Okay, so what Pablo is doing is, instead of giving directly, he rings a bell, then gives a food. Okay, so now he is able to control it. Okay, control the response. So he is using the bell. Now what happens is, earlier food was a stimuli, then Pablo was a stimuli, then now the bell is a stimuli. Okay, so you should see the difference. Okay, now the controlled stimuli is the bell. Okay, so now the dog was classically conditioned to salivate to the sound of a bell alone. So it doesn't now it doesn't salivate looking at Pablo or looking at food. Now it start salivating looking at the bell itself. Okay, so hope you guys understand. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So that is what it is. So this is what called as conditioned. The dog was classically conditioned to salivate to the sound of a bell alone. So this is, Pablo has conditioned the dog now. Okay, so it salivates looking at the, I mean, hearing the bell itself. Okay, so Pablo called the sound of the bell as a conditioned stimulus. The conditioned stimulus is CS. Okay, to the conditioned stimulus, that is, for the bell, it starts stimulating. That response is called a conditioned response. So he called the dog salivation to the sound of the bell. The conditioned response is, that is what it is. So which is learned reflective response to a previously neutral stimulus, which was neutral stimulus. That is, Pablo was the neutral stimulus. Okay, food was the natural stimulus. So this is how you have to understand. So now controlled stimulus is bell. Yeah, yes, ma'am. So now you can see the picture now. So the first thing what this is before conditioning. The first picture on the left side, on the top side, is a before conditioning. That is unconditioned stimulus. That is food, which is the dog sees and it salivates. So that is unconditioned response. Okay. So this is before conditioning. Okay. Then what happens is neutral stimulus. First, neutral stimulus before conditioning. What happens? Bell, looking at the bell, dog doesn't salivate. Okay, dog doesn't salivate. So neutral stimulus is bell, and it's a no salivation. So no conditioned response. There is no response from the dog. Okay, then during conditioning, what it happens is it shows the bell and food. Then it started unconditioned response. Okay, so there is a response, but yeah, along with the bell, it sees the food also. Then it's a unconditioned response. Now after conditioning it, now you see the bell is conditioned stimulus, and now the salvation comes looking at the bell itself. So the salvation, you can see, so that is conditioned response. So finally you see a conditioned stimulus and conditioned response. Yes, ma'am. So this is what it is. So now the dog is conditioned to salivate to a particular stimulus. New stimuli could elicit a conditioned salivary response. Elicit is nothing but behavior which already it is there in you, that comes out. Okay, so elicit nothing but the behavior already which is inbuilt in you that comes out because of the stimuli. So that is called elicit. Okay, so dog was conditioned to salivate to a particular stimulus. New stimuli could also elicit the conditioned salivary response. So stimulus generalization. So what happens is then he continued the experiment further. What he did is he made high sound with the bell, then he did low sound with the bell. Okay, so he gave a food when it is low sound. Okay, so then that's how stimulus generalization he did. Okay, so what he does is when he rang the bell loudly, he will not give. When he rang the bell slowly, he will give the food. So this is what stimulus generalization happened. Then stimulus discrimination happened. What happened is he took the dog biscuit in a box and he shakes. Okay, that sound the dog can identify. And then he took some goldfish kind of a cracker kind of a thing. So he put it in a box. He shook the box. Then that sound was it could differentiate. So this differentiation also the dog could make. So that is called discrimination. So it could discriminate and the apart from the food, not, which is not a stimuli. Okay. Then further to that, stimuli extension. What he did is, so once he did the bell and started giving food, after that he never used the bell. Without using the bell, he started giving food. Okay, so over a period, the stimulus, then the dog could wipe out the memory. Okay, so without food, without bell itself, it started giving food. Then the stimulus got extinction. Okay, extinct from his dog's mind. That also happened. So this is what the finding of Pablo. Yes, ma'am. So this is the first experiment did by Pavlov. He was a Russian scientist. So that is the learning, classical conditioning. That is the learning. Then after that, one more professor. I mean, he's a psychologist, actual psychologist. He is from America. So he is known as a founder of behaviorism. Okay, he is the guy who told that Pavlov, whatever he did only with the animals. Okay, so that is no way we can link with the humans behavior. So that is what he said. Okay, so classical conditioning doesn't go with the human behavior. So that is what he said. So to get that basic human behavior, he said describing and explaining conscious thought and perceptions. These he was putting it forward, these kind of concepts like conscious thought and perceptions, these were not there in classical conditioning. Okay, so his main point was psychology as the behaviorist view it. Okay, so my earlier thing didn't had this kind of concept, thought and perception and all. So this guy came out with this kind of a view that says that you should see in a conscious thought and perception also matters in behaviors. So that is how he was known as a founder of behaviorism. Okay, so he said all human behavior is a result of conditioning and learning that is due to past experience and environmental uses. So that is main thing actually. What he said is earlier, for example, I will give a quote like majority houses, when you come from office, when get into the house, uh, you ask for a tea. Okay, and to your spouse, then you ask for a tea, then say if doesn't give you, then immediately says you started shouting. So she'll say வெளியில இருக்கிற கோவத்தெல்லாம் வீட்ல காமிக்காதீங்க அப்படின்னு. Okay, so hope everybody would have experienced it. So வெளியில உள்ள கோவத்தை வீட்ல காமிக்காதீங்க. So what happens is this is the experience. Okay, so environmental influences you get and you show it to someone else. Okay, so that is what the behaviors comes out. Okay, so that matters. Okay, even the environmental will influence your behavior. That is what it says. Okay, so and past experience also. Okay, so earlier also you would have same way you would have reacted to this kind of behaviors. Okay, so that is what John B. Watson was putting it forward. Okay, so he was the founder of behavior. Okay, so as far John B. Watson is concerned, his negative was, so he didn't consider the talent, okay, personality or intelligence which was inherited. Okay, so இப்போ personality you can say as இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னா they would say as I would quote the basic examples. Okay, what we day to day we see, those examples I quote. Okay, so அப்பம் பாரு அப்பம் மாதிரியே புள்ளன்னு சொல்லுவாங்க. ஸோ தாய் போல I mean சேலை something they'll quote. Okay, so like mother like daughter, like father like son, or like mother, the characteristics that inherit. Okay, so you inherited in your son or your from your father, so those are the personality traits. Okay, so that he ignored actually. John B. Watson, in his behaviorism, he ignored these kind of things. Okay, so what he said is talent, personality or intelligence was inherited. Okay, so was not inherited, he was saying. So it all comes from behaviors, he was saying. So actually that was the negative of his thing. So
Sulaiman, I want to Sulaiman.
yes ma'am.
சுலைமான், இந்த இடத்துல வந்து நான் கொஞ்சம் இன்க்ளூட் பண்ண விரும்புறேன்.
Please ma'am.
அதாவது வாட்சன் முதல்ல வந்து இத அப்போஸ் பண்ணாரு. ஃபர்ஸ்ட் எடுத்த உடனே அவர் என்ன சொன்னாருனாக்க, இதுல வந்து சம்பந்தமே கிடையாது, அதாவது இது அனிமல்ஸுக்கு உள்ளது, இது மனுஷனுக்கு இது ஒத்து போகாது அப்படின்னு சொன்னாரு. ஆனா லேட்டர் ஆன் when he was selected as a president of American Psychological Association, இதே எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட்டை பல தடவை பண்ண ஆரம்பிச்சவர் ஒரு ஸ்டேஜ்ல அவர் என்ன சொன்னாரோ அது எந்த அளவுக்கு எக்ஸ்ட்ரீமுக்கு போனாருன்னா, ஐயா நீ சொன்னது ரொம்ப ரொம்ப கரெக்ட், உலகத்துல டேலண்ட், பர்சனாலிட்டி, இன்டெலிஜென்ஸ் எதுவுமே இன்ஹெரிட் ஆகல, நீ சொன்னதுதான் ரைட்டு, அப்படி கொண்டு வந்துட்டாரு. நீ சொன்னதுதான் ரைட்டு கடைசியில. அதாவது யாருக்குமே இந்த இன்ஸ்டிங்க்ட் தான் முதல்ல வந்துரும். ஒரு பெல் அடிச்சா ஒரு பசி, அதாவது பிள்ளைகளுக்கு பசி நேரத்துல கிளாஸ் டைம்ல அந்த ஒரு பெல் அடிச்ச உடனே அந்த பசி இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் ஜாஸ்தி ஆகுறது மாதிரி அந்த இன்ஸ்டிங்க்ட் தான் வாழ்க்கையில முதல் பிஹேவியர்ல ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டச் பண்றது, பின்னாலதான் டேலண்டோ பர்சனாலிட்டியோ இன்டெலிஜென்ஸோ வரும் அப்படிங்கிறாரு.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Rightly said. Actually, after that, even John B. Watson was agreeing with Pablo, and in fact, Pablo was also saying that the next is operant conditioning la. So Thorndike சொல்லி ஒரு he was a psychologist. He was putting it forward some things. So okay, so he was agreeing to that. Earlier itself, they have started this kind of activity with the rat and cat and all. So he was saying that I was not the one who started it. Actually, it was earlier itself they have started it. Okay, so I will go to the next slide, ma'am. So this is about the classical conditioning. Now we'll see into operant conditioning. Okay, so this is the next kind of a learning. Okay, so there were two. So earlier பாத்தீங்கன்னா ரெண்டு சயின்டிஸ்ட், மெஜாரிட்டி பாவ்லோவோட எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட் தான் மேஜர். ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் வந்து இட் வாஸ் அவர் John B. Watson. He was a behaviors founder. As madam said, he was a president of American Psychologist Association. Okay, so that was a major thing which approves all our psychological whatever syllabus, everything is still now it's been approved by that Psychological Association of America. So he was a president actually. John B. Watson was he was a president of that association. So now we'll get into, likewise, these are two another scientists who worked on similar kind of a conditioning. One is Edward L. Thorndike. He was using cats, chicks and dogs to invest